All right. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you very much for coming in. I know that it's a little cloudy outside, but Aric Almirola's future has some clarity to it. And Aric, you're here right now, so why don't you shine a little light on us for us?
That was really good, Mike. Wow.
Working on it all day. We've had a lot of time.
Yeah, so here to announce that I'll be back. I know that doesn't come as a surprise to many of you, but yeah, just put a lot of thought and a lot of discussing it with Janice and the kids, and ultimately, the subject continued to get broached from the race team in Smithfield, and through all of that dialogue, mainly with the race team and with Smithfield, it was very evident that not only did they want me back, but that Smithfield wanted to increase their marketing campaign around NASCAR and around me. And so they have decided to come back for a multi-year agreement, which is incredible. Just the amount of just support that they have given to me and my family throughout the career is humbling. And so when Shane Smith called me, the CEO of Smithfield, and said, "Hey, we really want you to reconsider retiring. We want you to come back and drive our race car," is really, really hard to say no. I did tell him, let me talk to Janice and let me think about it, let me pray about it. And we did, and there was a lot of back and forth discussion, but ultimately it just feels right. And I told you guys all, down here at the beginning of the year, that I was retiring, and that it was for a family decision. And this is still very much a family decision. Janice and the kids and I talked a lot about it, and I think the person that probably has the most sacrifice involved is Janice, but the kids were ecstatic that they get to still come and be with their friends, and there is a community that is involved and associated with what we do. And this year I took the opportunity to really soak it all up and embrace this year. And I have found a renewed sense of what a work-life balance looks like this year. I think by the time the year is over, Janice and the kids will have come to about 28 races. I think many of you might not even come to 28 races. So it's been really good for us to find that balance, and just everything has worked out to make it make sense for me to be able to continue to race, with the kids' activities, and we've moved some things around to where they're doing most of their activities during the week, and there's school that they're involved in now. Friday's a satellite day to where they have to work. They work and they turn in their work on a computer, and so they're literally sitting in the bus right now as I'm here talking to you, trying to finish up their schoolwork. So our family dynamics changed, things have changed, and it feels right, and it feels like a blessing and a wonderful opportunity to continue to do what I love to do. And I think I made that very clear when I announced that I was going to retire, that I wasn't retiring because I didn't enjoy racing anymore. I was retiring because I was willing to make a sacrifice for my family. Because ultimately my family is the most important thing to me. Winning races and making money and all of those things, I was willing to make that sacrifice to make sure I was being the husband I needed to be and the father I needed to be. And through this year, Janice and I have just found a wonderful balance to where I still can be the husband that I want to be and the father that I want to be. And we did some really cool stuff this year, and we forget, or at least I forgot, just what a wonderful opportunity it is to be a race car driver. Not only do I get to do what I love to do, but we get to travel around the country and go to all sorts of different cities. And so we took that opportunity this year. We went to the Arch in St. Louis. We went to the stadium where the Cardinals play. We've been to baseball games in Philly when we were in Pocono. We went to a Detroit Tigers game when they were playing the Tampa Bay Rays in Detroit when we were there for Michigan. We've taken family road trips between Phoenix and Vegas. We went to Zion and hiked, and we've just really taken this year to kind of embrace it and soak it all up. And I think as a family, we're not ready for it to end yet.
All right, we'll go ahead and open it up for questions. We'll start with Kelly and then Jordan and then move on along.
Kelly, CrownTheRacer.com. So, Aric, you said it there about coming into the year, soaking it up, thinking you were going to retire. So, how much of a mindset change is this now, going from thinking about the future and what you're going to do with the family to saying, well, nope, I got to keep racing now?
Honestly, not much of a mindset change because I've been so focused on just competition. You know, I think my commitment and my effort to performing at the highest level has never changed. And so I think the biggest thing for me is just, you know, looking ahead into the off season, where I was like, all right, once we get to the off season, I'll be able to catch my breath and we'll figure out whatever's next. I don't, for right now, have to figure out whatever's next. So I know what's next. I'm going to continue to drive a race car. So I'm looking forward to it and I'm excited about it. But you got to remember, I've been doing this for a long time. I'm going into my 12th season next year. And so it's pretty routine. So from a mindset standpoint, nothing really changes.
Jordan?
Jordan Bianchi, The Athletic. You said Smithfield Foods had re-signed for multi-years, and you're coming back next year. Are you coming back for multi-years too, to coincide with the Smithfield?
You'll have to continue to ask me that later on next year. I don't know. I think for right now that's the plan. For right now they've agreed to come back for a multi-year agreement. They've increased their investment in the sport and in the race team back to the levels they were at back in 2018, 2019. So that was one thing that really hit home for me, was when I talked to Shane Smith, the CEO of Smithfield. He came down here to the Daytona 500 this year, and that was his first race in many years. He grew up in North Carolina, was a fan of the sport way back when, and he's been running the European operations for Smithfield for the last 10 or so years. He is now promoted to the CEO, came to Daytona 500, and he was blown away when he walked around and just seen the level of excitement, the enthusiasm for the sport, the sold out grandstands, the viewership, just everything that he's seeing with the sport, and just walking around and seeing the people that are here, all the campers that are all through the infield, everybody tailgating and cooking out. And Shane just said, these are our people. These are our customers. And we've been marketing to them and telling them a story and branding, trying to get support for our brand from this core group of people for 11 years. We're heavily invested in this market, and we want to continue to be, because he saw it firsthand when he was here. The people that are here, the NASCAR fans, are so loyal, so brand loyal to the people that are the corporate sponsors that are involved in the sport. And he knows, and he feels very confident that their participation in the sport and sponsoring a race car and being involved gives them the opportunity to talk directly to their customer. And so when these fans that camp out, sit in the stands, tune in, watch on TV, when they go to the grocery store and they have a choice to make in the meat aisle, we all hope that they will go and pick up the Smithfield brand of meat to take it home to cook it, or to bring it to the racetrack to grill out and cook out. And we have a lot of data that kind of backs that up and supports it as well.
Holly?
Holly Kane with the NASCAR Wire Service. How long did you take on the decision to come back? I mean, how much thinking and, did you and Janice have to really put into this to decide?
It was a few weeks, to be honest, and there was a lot of talking back and forth, right? Like, what does the sponsorship look like? Are they going to scale back, or are they going to stay flat, or are they going to increase their level of investment? And what does that look like? And what does that look like for me? Are they going to sponsor half the year, and do we have to find a sponsor for the other half the year? Or, all of those things played a key role in trying to iron out all the details, right? The first question was, would you reconsider? And so I said, let me think about it. Let me talk to Janice, right? Let me pray about it. And then after about a week of, having those discussions, it was like, yes, I will reconsider, but X, Y, and Z, what's the answer to this? What's the answer to this? What's the answer to this? And we worked through that for the next probably month to 6 weeks. And I know it got, put out last week that it was happening, but as of last week, it still wasn't done. There was still some things that needed to be ironed out in the details. And so, I mean, to be fully transparent with all of you guys. It was done this week. We actually all came to agreements on all the terms as of this week. So, and that's why we've announced it today.
And how did the kids respond when you said Dad's going to still be racing?
Both the kids were elated. Abby said, "Does that mean we have to wait to get a horse?" And I said, "Yes." And so, but Alex and Abby were both very excited, to still continue to be here. I think that's one of the things you have to realize. Both my kids, Alex came to his first race when he was 1 month old. He was born on September 4th. He came to his first race at Talladega in October. He's a month old. Abby was born on Thanksgiving Day in 2013. Her first race was Daytona 500. She was 3 months old. So our kids don't know any different, right? They don't know really what life looks like away from the racetrack. And so they had a little bit of uncertainty as well, as like, well, what does that mean when Dad is retired? Other than I'm going to be home a lot more, what does that mean? What does that look like? So does that mean we won't get to see any of our friends anymore at the racetrack? Because we come to a large majority of the races and we have a community center, right? We have the MRO community center, and our kids spend a lot of time at that community center with a lot of the other drivers' kids as well. And so that's their friendship group. They have their friends at school, and then they come to the racetrack on the weekends and they have their friends at the racetrack. And so they were nervous, to be honest. They were nervous about what it looked like once we were done racing. Would we never get to see our friends again that were at the racetrack? So they were happy. They were happy to find out they were going to get to keep coming.
Greg?
Greg Engel, Forbes. Congrats on coming back. You kind of answered this, but was Smithfield the tipping point when they said, "Come on, we'll resign"? Was that the tipping point?
Absolutely. And I think that's one thing for me that has been just a huge blessing for me and personally and professionally. Smithfield has been the primary sponsor on my race car my entire Cup career. And so to continue to have their support and their backing is just awesome feeling, to be their guy, to be wanted. Like, I truly feel like I am part of the Smithfield family. And you have to remember, I've been part of Smithfield for 11 years. In that 11 years, they've been through 4 CEOs. We've been through multiple different marketing executives and executives throughout the entire executive level office. So I feel very ingrained there, and I feel like I've done my part as an ambassador for their brand to build relationships, not only with the key people, but the entire organization. Because as things move and shuffle and change inside their organization, it's still never wavered, their support of the sport and of me.
So you're talking about you've learned to enjoy it a little bit more this year, right? When the mindset was, I'm gone after next year, so you go to here and do this. Are those lessons you can take forward to next year to make next year, whether it's the last one or not, even better than all the seasons you've had up to this point?
I think those are lessons that I'll keep with me for the rest of my life. I'm a very, very highly competitive person. And when I came into this sport, it was just me. I just had myself to worry about. And then, I met Janice, and Janice and I dated for a while. And then once we got married, it was like, oh boy, like I'm now responsible for you as well. And then we had kids, and it was like, oh no, now I'm responsible for 2 more mouths to feed. And, I always tried to separate home and work. And I felt like to be the best that I needed to be all in on racing. And it takes that level of commitment. It does. To be really successful at the highest level of any profession, you have to be all in and committed. But I found myself for many years putting my family second, or actually third often. And everything else revolved around racing, the sponsors, all the commitments that came with racing, and I tried to fit in family time when I could. And I feel like over the last few years, I've done a lot better job at that. But as I approached retirement, it was like, man, I want to make sure that we do this together, that we go out kind of holding hands as a family. We really soak it all up. We embrace it. We cherish this opportunity, because when my kids were younger, it was easy. They weren't going to remember. But now, Alex almost being 10, Abby almost being 9, like that changes things. They're going to remember this time in their life forever. And so I wanted to make sure that it was done and that we did it right on the way out. And yeah, I think for the rest of my life, I'll take those lessons learned and make sure that I don't sacrifice being a great husband and being a great dad at the expense of being a professional, and vice versa. I don't want to sacrifice being a great professional at the expense of being a poor dad or poor husband or absent one.
Bob Pockris, Fox Sports. You said that obviously Smithfield was an important part in your signing. I'm curious, were they an important part in your original decision? I mean, there was a lot of talk like that they probably wouldn't even be coming back. And was there any part of you like, look, I don't want to try to start a new relationship with a new sponsor, so this will just be the last year, and then me and Smithfield go out together?
Absolutely, yeah. That's a fair question, Bob, and I think that is very much a factor that was weighed in. Was where are they at? They were going through a transition period as well, into from the current CEO to a new CEO. They weren't really sure. Shane was just coming in and was trying to get his bearings. And from my standpoint, I had reached a point to where Alex was still trying to go-kart race on the weekends occasionally. We were playing flag football on Saturdays. I was watching go-kart races on FaceTime videos. I was watching flag football games on FaceTime videos. I was watching Abby horseback ride on FaceTime videos, and I was sitting at the track in my motorhome. So you take those things, you weigh them out, and I was like, man, what am I doing? Like, do I really want to continue the grind? Do I want to continue being gone from my family 40 weeks a year and hustling to find sponsorship money and, trying to put all this effort and focus into studying SMT data and constantly, going here, going there for sponsors and doing media, requests and all these things that you have to do. And I'm not complaining about it, because I have the coolest job in the world and I've signed up for it and I've loved every minute of it. But it is a grind. I'm telling you, it is long. It is a long year. It is a lot of work. And so I just found myself kind of at times going like, what am I doing? And things changed for us, right? We got our kids into a school where Fridays are satellite days, so they could travel with me. Alex, on his own, decided that he was wanting to play baseball. We signed up for a baseball league where his games are on Tuesdays and Thursday nights. I haven't missed a single baseball game. Our circumstances in our life have changed to where it just made more sense to be able to stay out here on the road and continue to do what I love to do, and my family still be a part of it.
We'll go Lee, and then right over here to Chris.
Does Alex have any interest in racing?
If he was sitting here right next to me, he would say yes, and I think he does. But we've kind of pumped the brakes on that for right now. He's really, really into baseball, and it's been so fun for me. I played baseball all the way up to high school, and growing up in Florida and a little Hispanic community, every Hispanic kid in Florida plays baseball year round, and so did I. And I predominantly played baseball and raced as well when I could. And as I got older, racing become more important than baseball. But for me, as his father, I have so much fun going out in the yard and throwing the baseball with him and going to baseball practice. I'm actually the assistant coach on the baseball team. And it's just been so much fun to be out there on the field with the kids. And so Mom and Dad are still pushing baseball pretty heavy. Plus, it's way, way cheaper. Yeah, we can play baseball for a whole year for what it costs for a set of tires.
And is Drew going to stay the course with you, or are you guys kind of, locked in together?
Yeah, I think Drew will stay the course with me. I don't want to speak, for the race team and speak for Zippy, but as far as I know, Drew will stay with me. Drew has been a wonderful addition to the race team. He's such a great team leader, and the guys on the team love him. I really enjoy working with him. It's been a lot of fun working with Drew this year. So I think, as far as I know, that's the plan. It would be news to me if it wasn't.
Great. And one final question right here.
Chris Gollin with News Daytona Beach. I'm right over to your right, Eric, in the corner over here.
Oh, gotcha.
How's it going? First of all, congratulations on coming back. And I wanted to ask, it's safe to say you've taken some pretty nasty hits over the years, not the least of which put you out of the 43 for a few weeks in 2017. I was wondering if you could speak to what role that played, if any, in your decision of whether or not to hang it up.
Yeah, I mean, every time we strap into a race car, right? There's always a risk involved, but I've known that since I was a kid. Like, there's a risk involved when you get in a go-kart. There's a risk involved when I, modified raced or late model raced. So I've always known that, and that's the risk that I've always been willing to take because I love to race so much, right? The adrenaline rush for me and the thrill of competition has always outweighed the risk factor, and that still remains the same for me. Obviously, when you do get older, you have more people dependent on you. Right now, I have a wife that depends on me. I have 2 kids that depend on me. So circumstances certainly change over the years. But for me, I still accept those risks as a race car driver and want to go out and perform and compete. That thrill always just outweighs the risk. Yep.
All right. Thank you, everyone. It's been a
Yep.
great day
Thanks,
in
guys.
the motorsports industry, especially here in NASCAR. And on behalf of Smithfield and Stewart Haas Racing, very happy to be a part of it. Thank you very much.